look at the little makeshift paint booth I have set up for this car, just so I can get the paint to adhere properly and not have any issues, because there's a lot of bare metal and this is still a street driven car and I do care about it. So as you can see, it's all taped up underneath, and I did leave gaps, and there are plenty of gaps for air to escape. And then I got a, well, I don't need that for now, and then I have a little space heater warming up everything underneath, and that is hooked up to a timer so this thing doesn't blow itself up. But this does have like a thermostat in it, even though it's not going to really use a thermostat because the garage is so cold. Okay, so another quick update before I start spraying. Got the dehumidifier going in the garage. It says it's 45% room humidity right now on the machine. It's obviously a little bit lower outside of the machine for some reason, because that's never accurate. And then I also went ahead and bought a second space heater right there. So I got two things cranking away. And if you look in here, pull this guy out. 43% humidity, 57 degrees. That's exactly where I am starting to get it. That's exactly where I need it. And if you stick your hand in there, it does feel warm, so that is a good thing. So this is the epoxy primer that I use. Sorry, I still have my respirator on. But this is the epoxy primer that I use. It's a gray primer. And I have a couple coats on. I'm letting it air out, so I got the space heater fan going, but not the actual space heater. So let's take a look. So that guy is blowing air this way just to clear out the fumes. But you can take a look. That's what everything looks like. There you go, epoxy primer done. It needs, I'm just following the directions that they give you. So I have this guy on a timer again, and it's gonna start pretty soon, and I'll start baking this before I do seam sealer and chassis paint. So after letting the epoxy dry for a couple hours, I gave it about 5 hours. It was dry to the touch, scuffed it a little bit, and I got the seam sealer on. So this stuff is actually kind of like caulking, but it's a little bit harder to work with, I think, because it's thick and it skins over pretty quickly, which is good because you don't have to wait as long, but again, just harder to work with. You gotta be careful with it. But you can see I have everything, all the seams, all the little gaps, seam sealed, so that's good to go. So this right here is the seam that would never have gotten anything painted, seam sealer, nothing, if the gas tank was still in. So I'm very glad I kind of did this. And let me show you the other side. Again, I'm not really taping anything off because it's all underneath the car, so it gets hidden anyway. And I don't really care about the overspray, so like some of the brake pipes might have some epoxy on it, but it's okay. Anyways, inside also gets seam sealed because there's a nice little gap. And hopefully you're not too out of focus because I don't have autofocus on this. But letting this dry for about an hour, and then I'm gonna go and chassis paint everything. And here's a shot of me just letting this thing cure for the rest of the night. So everything is done. Plenty of coats. It's dry to the touch. It honestly looks like a factory e-coating. This is VHT Chassis Paint. It looks like a factory e-coating, which is kind of nice. But yeah, letting it cure for the rest of the night, and it's reassembly time. So very successful project, and I'm very glad this is finally done. Okay, so let's take a look at this job now.
as you can see, there's a gas tank in there, there is a subframe in there, and the subframe is torqued, but nothing else is connected. So there's a big gap from where I left off, which I think was seam sealing it and painting it, to now, because it's just a pain in the butt to do everything. There's not really much to it. You seam seal it, you paint it, you undercoat it, and you let all that stuff cure. Then you start reassembly. Go with the gas tank first. Absolute pain in the butt, because if you saw my other video, those hoses are unreachable through there. What I found out is that there's some weird tunnel inside the underbody, but it comes out here that's covered by a splash shield. Even still, if you disconnect all these hoses, label them so you don't forget, it goes to your evap canister, and these hoses are just as hard to get on or off, but there's more access. And when you disconnect it, this doesn't really free up. You kind of like jam it in there and then you get like an extra inch or two, but I really have no idea if one of these hoses cracked, how you're supposed to feed them through the body. So totally different issue, but anyways, disconnected this side, gave myself an extra inch or two of slack, which let me connect all the hoses here. When I jacked up the gas tank most of the way up, I could fit an arm through and everything. And then my next step is to reconnect this later on, but once I got the gas tank in, strapped in, I lifted the subframe up and got that stuff torqued, 57 foot-pounds. While you're lifting the subframe up, reconnect your drive shaft. No, you can't even see it, but reconnect your drive shaft, because if you don't, you're going to have to loosen the center support bearing, and then you're going to have to re-preload that thing. So don't do that when this is like halfway up and it's just guided onto the studs, the front studs. Put your drive shaft on. You do have enough slack to do that. Once that's on, lift it up all the way. Anyways, I don't think there's any more to this video, because it's just a bunch of reconnecting everything and making sure you nut and bolt everything. And then the exhaust has to go back on, and I guess Bob's your uncle, you're done. So, extremely long video, I guess extremely long for my recent stuff, but there you go. Full subframe overhaul. Thank you guys for watching.